Hi there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today you're joining me in my own personal Range Rover. I have the L494, which is the Range Rover Sport, and this particular one is the HSE dynamic specification. It's fitted with the 3-litre SDV6 engine. It's one of the earlier ones, so it's producing 292 brake horsepower, and of course, like most Range Rovers, it has this 8-speed gearbox, which is a very good setup in my mind. The other one is to note is the fact that this one has done 160,000 miles. I bought it with high mileage. Obviously, being a trader, for those of you who don't know, I've got my own car showroom. Being a trader, I've got access to all sorts of different contacts, and a trader friend of mine suggested this one to me, and I thought maybe it's time to change from my L322 Westminster and become a little bit more modern. And in doing so with this way, I think I can get the best value out of this car. It's already depreciated a huge amount, of course, because it has done 150,000 miles at the time that I bought it. And the way that I look at it is I'm also going to be doing a boatload of miles. If I was to try and find one that had done half the mileage now, even at 80,000 miles, you're probably going to be looking to spend another £7,000 or £8,000 on top of what I paid for this one. And what I'm going to be doing is getting it closer to 100,000 miles and then taking it over 100,000 miles, and people have this sticking point of 100,000 miles that you shouldn't buy cars over that, so I'd rather buy that one for stock and run this one for myself. I did have to give it a little bit of love, it's fair to say. When I picked it up, I had to trailer it back. I hadn't even driven it beforehand. I had to trailer it back because I had a ginormous screw in the tyre that you couldn't repair, and also a couple of other bits which wouldn't have affected the drive, but I wanted to get them sorted. This one needed a new air conditioning compressor and also the condenser unit itself as well, because the aircon just was not blowing cold, so I thought, well, I'll get that one done. And then it also had a brand new engine mount. That was only recently. The engine mounts on these, they're a little bit more technical than your standard ones. They use pneumatic mount. Essentially what that means is trying to keep the engine as level as possible at all times. So when you're going up steep inclines or going around corners relatively quickly, it's trying to keep that engine as level as possible. So it's a very cool mount, but they are a little bit problematic should they not be looked after. I use genuine parts on all of those jobs, and I'm very particular in why I do so, because I think, like, if you buy it right or you buy it twice, there are very good manufacturers out there that can do a very good replica part, there's no doubt about that. But I decided on my own personal car and with my stock, I'll try and use genuine where I can. And it wasn't that much more than getting the half decent stuff, so that's the way I decided to go, and then obviously got it onto the road up and running as it should be. So I've done near enough 10,000 miles in this car. Since having done those jobs, it's been brilliant. It's been ever so comfortable, and you wouldn't necessarily notice that it's done 160,000 miles. There are a few little bits of wear and tear. There's this bit here, which is the only bit on the inside that I can really see on the door handle, and I can get that reupholstered at any point. That would start to go even if it had done 90,000 miles or maybe even 50,000 miles if someone's particularly aggressive when opening and closing the door. The exterior, I live in the countryside, it naturally has a little bit of what we call Devon rash, where it's head rash up the side and everything like that. It does also have a slight scuff on the front bumper corner, and the alloys are slightly curved. That's all kind of down to how it was driven before I'd had it. So in terms of paintwork and everything like that, it still holds up well, having done 160,000 miles. It's not too paint chippy on the front or anything like that. It doesn't necessarily have any bad lack appeal or anything, so I think it really has held well. And the reason, as I say, that I decided to buy this one with 150,000 miles and kind of come out of my L322, I had the Westminster beforehand that had the 4.4 TDVA engine, was brilliant, absolutely loved that car, but it was just a little bit dated. Having done so many miles or continuing to do so many miles, I'm in the car a lot of the time, so I just wanted these extra few features that the L494 could give me that the L322 didn't have. It's certainly a more civilised drive. It's quieter on the road, and it's also much more firm in the corners. And as I say, living in the countryside, you are continuously on country roads, so I just think it's that little bit nicer being in a little bit more of a modern car. I should also mention that when I bought this car, it had full Land Rover service history prior to my purchase. That of course instilled much more confidence in myself, in the sense of it's always been a Land Rover technician that you would like to think know what they're doing, looking at it every year that it's been serviced. And in certain years, obviously because they're done on mileage as well, it was serviced twice in a year. So the previous owners, they didn't necessarily spare the expense, and that is why I think it's held up so well. I think if you care for a car, I've mentioned it in previous videos, I think maintenance is a real sticking point, that if you look after it, it will look after you. And as I say, it comes back to the value side of things, where they've really put the money in over on ownership. It means that the car will prolong itself, it will go on for that much longer, and it means that someone like me can pick it up and continue to do the miles, continue to maintain it for far less money than it would be if I was to try and get one that had done 60,000 miles, 100,000 miles less than this. I think it's a real big bonus for me, and it still has the capability, of course. You can still tow the 3.5 ton, you still get all of the air suspension, the terrain response and everything like that, which is all very useful to have, especially when you live in the countryside. As I previously mentioned, it's the perfect car for me, because all I'm going to do is put loads more miles on it. I'm just going to devalue it further, but the percentage that I devalue it will be far less than if it had done half the miles. So I really do think that a high mileage example is where it sits well. And if it still stands well, it still looks the part and everything like that, it's definitely money well spent. I really do believe that. So as previously mentioned, I'm a big Range Rover fan. I've had a couple of the L320 Sports, and I've also had the L322 Range Rover Vogues. I had both the 3.6 TDV8 and then also the 4.4 TDV8. That was part of the Westminster that I had, which was a phenomenal car. I cannot take that away from it. It had far less miles than this one. It was in metallic black with black leather, and it had also the black dash and everything. Really a smart looking car. The Westminster, it's also a talking point. People love the iconic L322s, myself included. So people do ask me, well, why did you change? You've had the iconic Range Rover and you've gone for something which is a little bit more modern. And that's the reason why, you know. I'm in the car a huge amount of time. So I wanted just to be a little bit more modern, a little bit more with the times. I wanted it to have the Bluetooth audio streaming. I wanted it to be a little bit more civilized. It is a quieter drive. I live on country roads, so it's a little bit more firm in the corners. It doesn't feel quite so wallowy, and it will still tow 3.5 ton. The running costs are actually slightly better as well, because it's the SD V6 with the start and stop technology. The tax is almost half, and that's really quite handy. The MPG, to be fair, I did get pretty good MPG out of the L322 that I previously had. The 4.4 was better than the 3.6, believe it or not, because you're not really having to push it quite so hard. But you do get a bit of a better MPG out of this because it is that much lighter. That was the whole big thing when these era of Range Rover come out. Over the L320 and the L322, they shed a huge amount of weight, and you do definitely feel that. It feels a little bit more nimble, and the running costs are just that little bit better. So the reasons for changing out of the L322, I still stand by them. I still get every bit of specification that you get with the HSE Dynamic. This one also has the heated steering wheel, which I really quite enjoyed in the Westminster. That does come as standard on the L322 Vogues, but it doesn't come as standard as part of the Sport package, so I'm glad that this particular one has that. And it has everything else in terms of electric heated memory seats, the heated rear seats. I can still stream TV and everything through the screen, and as I say, it's just a little bit more modern, a little bit more refined, and I'm really pleased with the choice. It also looks that little bit better. The L322 looks really iconic, and I do love that shape, but this just looks a little bit more sporty, a little bit more with it, and I really quite enjoy that. So there we have it, guys. That is why I love my higher mileage Range Rover Sport L494. I get the SD V6 producing 292 brake horsepower. I get the looks, I get all the modern technology, the capability of the off-roading, the towing capacity, everything that my L322 could offer. It looks a little bit more modern. The running costs are that much better as well. And I've already got what is great value for money, and will continue to benefit from that as I put a boatload of miles onto it. So yes, a lot of people really do shy away from high mileage cars. It really does become a personal preference, but I really wouldn't shy away from them, providing that they've been maintained like this one has. And as a lot of other YouTubers say, a lot of other car reviewers say, if you've got a little piggy bank with a few funds in there for if and when things do go wrong, because they are a luxurious vehicle at the end of the day, you've got the funds to put it right and you can really enjoy the car, which is what I plan to do. And I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really does appreciate. And yeah, hope to see you soon. Thank you.